Welcome to the Bite Size Fitness Show, where we talk all things fitness, nutrition, and habits and break them down into smaller, more digestible, bite-sized pieces of content for you to enjoy. My name is Sean Bykirk and I am your host, and in today's episode, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to crush those fitness-related New Year resolutions. Okay, so the New Year starts, it's a fresh beginning, and the number one resolution across the demographic is something fitness related. So whether it's getting healthier, improving your fitness, losing weight, fitness related resolutions are always number one on the top of the list. And as you can probably guess, the number of people that actually reach those resolutions is pretty low. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the more common reasons why people fail and what you can do instead. So I'm going to give you 5 really important things to consider when setting your New Year's resolutions to ensure that you hit them. So first off, let's acknowledge it's difficult to have any sort of fitness routine. Right? Society makes it really challenging. Everything that we have now is based off comfort and convenience, and fitness is not comfortable, it's not convenient. In fact, you're doing things that go against everything that your brain is telling you to do. So we would much rather be sitting down on the couch, watching Netflix, eating foods that taste really, really good, rather than going up, getting out, especially in the middle of the winter right now, going to the gym, putting all this effort in, and changing up our routine, switching up our schedules. Priorities are different. Not only that, but you're investing time, energy, and money into something that some days you don't even want to do. So it definitely goes against the grain. It's not easy to do. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But the good news is there are some ways that you can absolutely crush it. And as we all know, it's one of those things that there is no downside. There's no downside to exercising. It's going to be one of the best things you can do for yourself, especially if you start to build some momentum. Okay, so let's get into it. Number 1, don't rely on motivation. This one goes against what a lot of people feel. They might consider themselves not a fitness person. I'm just not motivated, especially now. Now's the time of year where most people are motivated and they have this feeling and like, this is the year I'm going to do it. The first couple of weeks start off great and they kind of fall off the wagon. Understand that motivation is a transient emotion. It comes and goes. I'm more motivated than you are. Other people aren't necessarily more motivated than I am. It comes and goes. Instead of relying on motivation, focus on systems and habits, because motivation inevitably will subside, especially if you're not getting the results as fast as you would like, or even if you are. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where it's not as exciting as it was at some point. Which brings us on to number 2. The motivation that you do want to focus on is intrinsic motivation, not extrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation is that short-term feeling of how you feel after a workout, how you feel after a day of healthy eating, right? The way that your brain rewards you after doing things that you promised yourself that you would do. We've all heard like the runner's high, the workout high. It's a real thing. Focus on those things, start stacking some wins, because these are the things that you can control. You can control whether or not you worked out. You can control whether or not you did what you promised yourself you were going to do with your diet. You can't control how fast you're going to lose weight, how fast you're going to build muscle, how fast you're going to get a 300-pound deadlift. That would be more of extrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation is focusing on the rewards and the goals. And don't get me wrong, these are very important things to have. It's good to have goals. It's good to have external targets. But if the only reason you're exercising is contingent on achieving those goals, you're going to fail. We know for a fact that people that tend to have more extrinsic motivation actually do far worse than those who have intrinsic motivation. So paradoxically, when you focus on how you feel inside rather than the external goals, you actually get those external goals much faster than those who only care about that. Okay, so we can't control the rewards and how fast they're going to come, but we can control our habits, our daily routines, and how we feel. Start stacking some of those wins, and then you'll get the results. So focus more on the intrinsic rather than extrinsic. That's really the key to long-term success. Number 3, keep it simple. So pick one thing. Don't feel like you have to completely overhaul your entire routine. It's just a matter of time before that's going to become too much and you're going to revert back to old habits. So pick one thing in the beginning. Once you feel like that's an easy thing, then you can start building off of that. So it can be as simple as going for a 30-minute walk every day. It could be as simple as getting 10,000 steps per day. It can be as simple as going from a cup of rice every day to a half a cup of rice once a week, or whatever it is. It can be unique to you, but it has to be simple and it has to be something that's going to help you move towards your goal, which is going to bring me to the next point. Number 4, Understand the levers to pull. When you have a goal, effort itself isn't necessarily going to mean that you're going to reach your goal, right? So you have to understand some of the things that are specifically needed to reach your goal. So if your goal is to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So as much as going for an extra walk a day might help, as much as working out from time to time might help and will help, disclaimer, like exercise is the single best thing you can do for your health. There's no downside, even if you don't lose weight. It's the best thing you can do for your health. So if your goal is fat loss, typically that's going to have to come from a nutrition intervention for most people. Okay, so if you're setting a goal of fat loss, but all you're doing is going for an extra walk every single day and not really changing your nutrition, as good as that is in terms of a healthy habit that you're adding, you can't expect to lose a bunch of weight. You have to understand where those levers are to pull. Okay, so if your goal is fat loss, focus on the 3 pillars: fitness, nutrition, accountability. So know how many days per week you're going to work out, what those workouts are going to look like. Number 2, set a specific goal for how you're going to eat, whether it's tracking your calories, something a little bit more intuitive, but have a plan. And number 3, accountability. Really important thing here. Most people, if I put a gun to your head and I said you have to get blank result in blank period of time, especially when it's like weight loss related, you would know what to do. Even if you don't know a lot about fitness and nutrition, you could probably intuitively know what to do. It's more of just actually doing the thing that we need to know, that we need to do. And you see this all the time in the gym, right? January, February, go to a big box gym, it's going to be packed. But over time, it starts getting less and less busy, and then by the end of the year, it's pretty open, right? And some people are able to motivate themselves and keep themselves accountable and do this throughout the year at a big box gym. Most people are not. You got to understand that for big box gyms, they only operate because their entire model is predicated on people not showing up. 80% of people don't show up, right? So if you had every single person who had a gym membership show up throughout the year, that gym would no longer be able to operate. It's just insane, okay? So most people do not have the accountability to actually go to the gym on their own. So what can you do? Maybe get a gym workout buddy, maybe join a boot camp like we have in F45 or CrossFit, so you have a coach, you have a community, you have a nice happy medium there. Or you can go even further and get yourself a personalized coach, whether it's for nutrition or personal training. But just remember, accountability is the most important thing. Don't blame yourself if you can't hold yourself accountable throughout the year at a gym. Instead, choose something that's going to make it a little bit easier for you to be accountable and understand how that works. Now, going back to the original point, understanding which levers to pull. For fat loss, that's kind of how it applies. If your goal is to build muscle, as great as it is to go for a walk, play some sports, don't expect to be building a lot of muscle if you're not including strength training in your routine. Okay, so specificity is a very important one. Some of you have heard the acronym SMART for setting specific goals. I'll post that up here so you can see what it looks like. Always a good template to go to. So anytime you're setting a new goal, look at that acronym, go through each one by one, and kind of plan out your entire template from there. And then number 5, make goals objective and have metrics to assess progress. As good as it is to have a goal of saying, I want to be healthier, it's very vague. Like, what does that mean? What does healthier look like objectively? As much as it is great to say, I want to lose weight, how much weight do you want to lose? Okay, so instead you have to be specific. If your goal is weight loss, how much weight do you want to lose? When do you want to lose it by? What are some actionable steps that you need to do in order for this to happen? And that's the most important thing. What are these actionable steps that I need to do in order for it to happen? And what are the metrics I'm using to assess whether or not I'm progressing? Ideally, you want as many of these things to be objective as possible. You want to make them binary. It's either a yes, I did it, or no, I didn't. So it can be 3, let's say you say yourself 3 times per week at the gym. You either did it or you didn't, right? It's not, I want to go to the gym, which is very vague. For nutrition, it can be, I want to get minimum 120 grams of protein per day. You either did it or you didn't do it. It could be whatever it is, guys. You can set your own. That's the good thing with something as generic and generalized as fat loss. There's not one way to do it. There's a million different ways to do it, but you have to have a plan. Ideally, you want your plan to be objective and you want it to be binary. Either check it off yes or check it off no. And then also having metrics to assess your progress. So for strength, you can be writing down how much weight you're lifting, how many reps, how many sets, and making sure that those numbers are increasing over time. That's kind of your metric to assess. For weight loss, it can be the scale. The more the better. The scale, measurements, before and after pictures. It can be body fat percentage, but have something to assess whether or not what you're doing is working, because at some point, usually after 6 weeks or so, if you don't see a change, you can reassess, change up the plan, and then try it again. Okay, so those are the 5 tips I have for you guys today. Don't rely on motivation. Instead, systems and habits. Focus on inspiration, because motivation inevitably will subside for everyone. Number 2, the motivation you do want to focus on is intrinsic motivation. Focus on how what you're doing makes you feel. Stack those wins, and then the results will come. Number 3, keep it simple. Start with one thing at a time. Once you feel like that habit's been established, then you can start introducing more. Number 4, understand which levers to pull. So when you have a goal, you have to be able to understand what you need to do in order to get to that goal. Choose the thing that you feel like is the easiest for your lifestyle in order to really make a difference and implement there. And then number 5, make sure those goals are objective. So they're binary, you either did them or you didn't, and have metrics that you know will assess whether or not you are progressing. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you all have a fantastic 2024. See you in the next one.